You already woke up at 30 and asked yourself, how did I get here? Not in the sense of gratitude, but of genuine perplexity. As if he had followed a carefully drawn map, but ended in a completely different territory of the promised destination. And the question that echoes in the silence of the dawn is even more disturbing. If I did everything right, why do I feel so lost? This is not a personal crisis. It is an existential awakening. At 30, you are not simply facing a decade change. It is confronting the first major existential revision of adulthood. That moment when the distance between expectation and reality becomes impossible to ignore. And it is exactly in this apparently painful mismatch that the greatest opportunity for authentic growth you have ever had. Logotherapy teaches us that suffering is no longer suffering the moment you find a meaning. And the deepest meaning I can offer today is this. You have not failed with your life. Your life is trying to talk to you. The perfect script myth. During the first 30 years, we live mainly following external scripts. First, the family script. Be a good child, study well, form. Then the social script. Find a good job, relate, settle down. Finally, the cultural script. Buy a house, marry, have children, grow professionally. These scripts are not intrinsically bad. They offered structure when we needed direction. But at 30, something fundamental changes in the human psyche. We started to question not only what we are doing, but why we are doing. This is where many of you meet now. Looking at their lives and realizing that although they are success according to external criteria, something essential seems to be missing. A feeling of emptiness that cannot name. A restlessness they cannot explain. Viktor Frankl noted in his years in the concentration camp that those who survived were not necessarily the most strong physically, but those who found a personal meaning to continue. This principle applies deeply to its current situation. It is not enough to have a life that works. You need a life that has meaning to you. The disappointment you feel is not a defect of character. It is your psyche signaling that the time has come to transmit from reactive living to creative living, to stop following maps made by others and start drawing your own existential territory. The anatomy of the disappointment of the 30. Let me share something I observed in years of clinical practice. The disappointment of 30 years has a specific anatomy, and understanding it is the first step in transforming it. First, there is temporal disappointment. You realize that time is not infinite as it seemed at 20. Each choice it makes now excludes other possibilities more definitively. This awareness of finitude, although initially distressing, is actually an invitation to authenticity. When you accept that you cannot live all possible lives, you finally become free to fully live your unique life. Second, there is relational disappointment. Relationships that seem solid at 20 can reveal cracks at 30. You realize that it has grown, changed, that your needs have evolved. This is not failure. It is development. Logotherapy teaches us that authentic relationships must grow along with our personal evolution, or naturally become to accommodate our emerging truths. Third, there is professional disappointment. The career you have chosen may no longer reflect who you have become. The work that previously offered satisfaction now seems mechanical, without soul. This is perhaps the most common disappointment, and also the most revealing. It indicates that its deep identity is ready to manifest itself more authentically in the world. Each of these disappointments carries a message. You are ready for a more mature relationship with yourself and life. The inner call at 30. At 30, something deep is activated in our psyche. Jung called this individuation, the process by which we become who we really are, not who we were conditioned to be. Frankl would compliment that this is the moment when our search for meaning becomes conscious and intentional. This inner calling usually manifests itself as a growing restlessness. You may feel that you are living someone else's life, even if this life is objectively good. You can experience a sense of urgency without being able to identify exactly for what. Or a longing for something that has never lived. A nostalgia of a future that has not created. These symptoms are not signs of depression or inadequacy. They are indicators that your soul is ready to assume a more active role in conducting its existence. Logotherapy teaches us that the human being is motivated primarily for the search for meaning. During the first 30 years, this sense was widely supplied by external structures, family, education, social expectations. Now, the time has come for you to discover your unique and personal meaning. This process is not optional. It is an existential need. Those who resist this call often develop what Frankl called existential emptiness, a persistent feeling that something fundamental is missing, even when all basic needs are satisfied. The courage to deconstruct to rebuild, the authentic reinvention of the 30 requires specific courage. The courage to deconstruct aspects of your life that no longer reflect your inner truth, even when these aspects work well externally. This may mean questioning a relationship that offers security but not growth. Rethink a career that offers status but not purpose. Examine beliefs you inherited but never truly chose. Review goals that it pursued by social pressure and not by inner call. This deconstruction is not destructive. It is creative. It is like a sculptor who removes unnecessary marble to reveal the way he has always been there, waiting to emerge. 1. Patient recently told me, "I feel like it's taking layers of paint from an old furniture, trying to find out the original wood underneath." This is a perfect metaphor for the 30-year work. You are not inventing yourself from scratch. He is discovering who has always been, under all layers of conditioning and expectations. This process requires patience with yourself. Society pressures us to have quick answers, but authentic development has its own pace. Frankl noted that the search for meaning is not a process that can be rushed, only honored. Transforming crisis into existential opportunity. The word crisis in Chinese is made up of two characters. One means danger, the other opportunity. This duality perfectly captures the experience of 30 years. There is real danger in ignoring its inner call, to continue living automatically. But there is an extraordinary opportunity to become an architect conscious of his own existence. The first opportunity is in liberating others' expectations. At 30, you gain psychological permission to disappoint other people if it means being true to yourself. This is not a permission to be irresponsible, but to be responsible for the right person. You. The second opportunity lies in the development of existential intuition. You start to trust your ability to discern what really matters to you, regardless of what others value. This intuition develops through experience and reflection, tools you now have in abundance. The third opportunity is the integration of the shadow. Jung used this term to describe parts of ourselves that we deny or suppress. At 30, you have enough maturity to examine aspects of your personality you once avoided. Perhaps you have always seen yourself as practical, but you feel an artistic call. Or always has identified itself as an introvert, but discovers leadership and influence needs. This integration is not about becoming a different person, but about becoming a complete person. The difference between adjustment and authenticity. One of the biggest challenges of the 30 years is to distinguish between adjusting and being authentic. Our culture often confuses these concepts, but they are fundamentally different. Adjusting means modifying yourself to meet external expectations, minimizing conflicts, but also minimizing your individuality. Being authentic means expressing its inner truth responsibly, occasionally creating tension, but preserving its essential integrity. At 30, you need to learn when each of these approaches is appropriate. There are times when adjustment is necessary and healthy. Relationships require commitment, work requires cooperation. But there are other times when authenticity is non-negotiable. Decisions about your life purpose, choices on how to invest, your time and energy, definitions of what kind of person you want to become. Logotherapy teaches us that you are responsible for discovering and living your unique purpose. No one else can do this for you. No one else should do this for you. This responsibility may seem scary, but it is also deeply liberating. It means that you have the power to create a life that reflects your deepest values, regardless of how your life has unfolded so far. Navigating relationships during reinvention. One of the most delicate aspects of the reinvention of the 30 is how it affects your relationships. When you start to change and grow consciously, not everyone around you will accompany this evolution with enthusiasm. Some relationships may resist their changes because their transformation forces them to question their own choices. Others may feel threatened because you are breaking with established dynamics that offered them security or advantage. Temptation can be regressed to maintain peace, pretending that nothing has changed to preserve the comfort of others. But Frankl reminds us that each person is responsible for their own search for meaning. You cannot sacrifice your authenticity to keep others comfortable in your choices. This does not mean being insensitive or abandoning importantly hasty relationships. It means communicating their changes with honesty and compassion, allowing others to decide how to respond to their evolution. True relationships grow along with you. Relationships based on old versions of who you were may need to be renegotiated, or, in some cases, left behind grateful for what they represented on your journey. The paradox of choice at 30 at 30. You face an interesting paradox. You have more freedom of choice than ever, but also more responsibility for the consequences of these choices. This paradox can be paralyzing or liberating, depending on how you address it. Paralysis comes from trying to make perfect choices, to seek guarantees before acting. But logotherapy teaches us that meaning emerges from responsible action, not from infinite analysis. You discover your purpose by living it, not thinking about it. Freedom comes to accept that there are no perfect choices, just authentic choices. When you align your decisions with your deepest values, even difficult choices become expressions of your integrity. This is perhaps the most important learning of the 30 years. You don't have to have all the answers before you start living authentically. You just need the courage to take the next step towards who you are becoming. Building a new professional identity. For many, the reinvention of the 30 includes a deep reconsideration of their professional life. You may have chosen a career based on family expectations, financial pressures, or limited opportunities. Now, with more experience and self-knowledge, you may be feeling misalignment between your work and your purpose. Professional change at 30 requires a different approach than you would use at 20. Now you have responsibilities, perhaps financial, dependence, an established reputation. The change needs to be strategic and gradual, but no less authentic. Start by identifying the elements of your current work that really energize you. What aspects of your responsibilities make you lose the sense of time? What kinds of problems do you solve naturally? What values do you express through your work? These elements are clues of their broader professional purpose. They may be present in your current function in ways you have not recognized, or can point to completely new directions that are worth exploring. The authentic professional transition is rarely a dramatic leap. More often, it is a series of small adjustments that gradually realize their professional life with their inner truth. The relationship with time at 30 at 30. Its relationship with time becomes fundamentally. You fail to feel that you have infinite time and begin to perceive time as a precious resource that should be consciously invested. This change in perspective can initially generate anxiety. You may feel pressure to speed up decisions, to recover lost time, to compensate for years that you consider poorly invested. But this approach is counterproductive. Logotherapy teaches us that every moment of your life has had purpose, even the moments you now consider wrong. Your past experiences, including your mistakes, contributed to who you are today. They gave him perspective, resilience, wisdom that would not have otherwise. Time is not your enemy at 30, it is your teacher. He is teaching him how to value the quality of quantity, the depth of superficiality, the significant over the merely occupied. This new relationship with time also brings a unique freedom. The freedom to say no. At 30, you can finally stop trying to please everyone and start investing your time just what really matters to you. Facing the fear of judgment. One of the biggest obstacles to the authentic reinvention of the 30 is the fear of judgment. You may fear that others see your changes, such as instability, immaturity, or ingratitude for the opportunities you have had. These fears are understandable, but they should not determine their choices. Frankl noted that the opinion of others about our lives is infinitely less important than our own experience of meaning and purpose. The truth is that those who criticize their search for authenticity often do so because their courage to change exposes their own unheard choices. Their growth may bother because it suggests that they could also choose to grow. This does not make them bad people, simply people at different stages of existential development. You don't have to convince them that your choices are valid. You just need to live these choices with integrity. Over time, your results will speak for you. A life lived with authentic, Purpose has a magnetic quality that eventually attracts respect, even those who initially resisted their changes. The importance of conscious support. Although the self-discovery journey is fundamentally individual, it need not be lonely. At 30, you have the maturity to consciously choose those who include in your support circle during this transformation period. Look for people who value growth on stability, who celebrate your courage to question and explore instead of pressing you to conform. These can be people in similar transitions, mentors who sailed their own reinventions, or professionals specialized in human development. Avoid seeking validation of those who are invested in keeping you as it was before. Although their intentions can be well introduced, they are not the ideal companions for this specific journey. Remember, you don't need anyone's permission to grow, but conscious support can make the journey richer and less isolated. Integrating past, present, and future. The reinvention of the 30 is not about rejecting your past or fantasizing about a perfect future. It is about integrating your accumulated experience with your emerging view of who you are becoming. Its past contains valuable resources, developed skills, lessons learned, relationships built, experiences that shaped their unique perspective. These should not be discarded, but recontextualized within their new direction. Your future need not be completely mapped, but it must be intentionally directed. You don't have to know exactly where it will come, but it must be clear about the general direction you want to go. The gift is where integration happens. This is where you make daily decisions that honor your past while you build your future. This is where you practice living according to your discovered values. This temporal integration is one of the most mature aspects of the reinvention of the 30. You are consciously building what it was to create what it can be. Conclusion. The meaning in reconstruction. If you have come here, I recognize in you something that not all of 30 have. The courage to question, the honesty to admit that something needs to change, and the hope that a more authentic life is possible. This is not a crisis. It is an awakening. You are not lost. It's meeting. You didn't fail with your life. Your life is evolving. The reinvention of the 30 is perhaps the most precious opportunity that adulthood offers. The chance of consciously choosing who you want to be, based on who you found it is. It is the moment when you stop reacting to the expectations of others and begin to respond to your own inner call. Remember, Viktor Frankl teaches us that we can withstand almost any suffering if we make sense in it. The disappointment you feel is not purposeless suffering. It is the necessary discomfort of growth, the creative tension that precedes all authentic transformation. Your life does not need to follow the script others wrote. You are allowed to be the author of your own story. And this story, when lived, with authenticity and purpose, can become not only satisfactory to you, but inspiring to others who also seek the courage to live authentically. The invitation is made. The door is open. The only remaining step is yours. If these reflections have resonated with your experience, whether you recognize in your words the journey you are living, or that you need to start, I invite you to join this community of people committed to conscious growth. Subscribe to the channel to continue exploring the depths of human experience, especially the complexities and opportunities that emerge when we have enough courage to live authentically in every decade of our existence. Because your self-discovery journey doesn't end here. In fact, it just started.